Hello everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Brian Good here, another video again. Before we get into the discussion, do want to update you on the new stuff that just came out. Some of you got the push alert I just sent out on the Way Through News weather app. For those of you in the severe drought status, our far southern counties, you got that alert just now. The rest of you, not much has changed. Moderate drought status is still in effect. We need the rain badly, and there's not much to talk about. In fact, this is the visible satellite, and I was hoping to get to see some of that fog. You can see just a hint of it there in the past couple frames. Let me stop this. If you look real carefully, you can have to put your phone right up to your face or get right up to your computer. You can see a hint of it right in that area along the Ohio River. It's mainly river fogs that we're talking about, but it is found this morning, especially around New Albany. You guys really were socked in with some of that dense fog earlier today, and some frost as well. 37 was low temperature in the city, by the way. A lot of you around 30 to 32. Wider view, look how quiet the lower 48 is. I mean, let me turn this even more. I mean, there's just not much going on. Very, very quiet. Texas is the only place really where weather's happening other than maybe the Pacific Northwest, which is important because this is going to be our baby that we'll be dealing with. Look at that. That's impressive. And this has been a big problem here in the longer range, too, or really since this entire fall has begun. If you want to get a cold pattern in our area, you don't want this here. You don't want a storm system into the northern Pacific and Alaska and to Canada. You want dry, warm weather, warmer than normal anyway. And since that's not been the case, that's why we've been dealing with some warmer than average weather in our area, and another round is coming. An update on the indices here. P&A, again, negatives our positives we're looking for to get a colder pattern in here. That's why we get these cold shots. We do flip to negative, but not sharply, but we do flip. And the NAL stays mainly positive, telling me that's mainly progressive, but mainly as far as the flow across the country, but it is going to be mainly neutral down the road, so not a huge deal. EPO going negative as we head to next week. That is going to be interesting. Some cold air getting involved with the storm system. But anytime we see this flip of one to another, that tells us that we're going to, especially when it comes to the Pacific Ocean, it's telling us that we're going to see a likely highly amplified pattern. The jet stream is going to get a big squiggle across the country. And we will begin to see that next week. Here is how things will play out. As we head into next Thursday, we begin to get that south flow in the area. Now, there's not a lot of moisture initially coming off the Gulf because it's not a direct flow due south until you get to about Texas. So right ahead of the front is where you get the moisture feed. This is not a direct moisture feed that takes place. All right, we needed to get rid of this high. It's too far to the south and east to pump in a lot of moisture area. But it will pump in some gusty winds and warmer weather. Now, as we get into next late Thursday into Friday, yes, then at that point, there we go. Now we're getting the moisture feed right into the area, but it's only got a narrow window for it to raise our dew points up. So at this point, we're not expecting a lot in the way of showers or even thunderstorms because we're going to be warm. I think we'll get one day at least in the 70s, maybe two, depending on the speed of this front. We could squeeze in Friday for a 70-degree day. At this point, Friday, we got 60s because it could be the day that the front arrives. And blizzard conditions and snow, first accumulating snow for a lot of people in the upper Midwest. They are excited about that. And then we will get the cold blast behind it, but it looks to be transient. I don't think it's going to get locked in yet. I think it'll move in here and then move on out. But it could, if we stay cloudy enough, depending on which model you look at, between the Euro and the GFS, if we stay cloudy, we may end up with next Saturday, the 19th, maybe highs only in the 40s. That is possible. We shall see. Looking at the ensembles for Thanksgiving week, the ensembles are not helping a whole lot. I mean, you see a sign of a dip here in the jet stream, especially on the Canadian. The operational GFS shows a little bit of a dip right in here. So we do see signs of a storm system in the area, but the models are really having a tough time picking out one piece of energy and develop it into a signal that's well-defined for us to nail down. We do see some type of disturbance moving through the lower 48, which can't figure out exactly what it's going to be or how it's going to evolve. So stay tuned on that. I think it could be something that could be significant. Potential is there. With the NAL going neutral, we could see these systems slow down a bit. So, I showed this yesterday, the snowpack. One thing I wanted to mention was Siberia. Very, very cold. And one issue that we're having here is the polar vortex is generally in this area. It's a weak polar vortex, weaker than normal, in fact. Anytime you get a lot of snow in Europe and Asia, and Siberia, and you get a weak polar vortex, you're going to keep the cold air coming right into this area, and the United States gets skipped. All right, and that's pretty much what we've seen. Now, there are signs that the polar vortex is going to try to regain itself again as we head into later November. one key factor on that is going to be, I mentioned that low that was in the Pacific. We've got to get that out of the pattern here. And one thing that may help could be the sea ice. Let me explain. What you're looking at here is the sea ice extent in the Arctic Circle area. This dashed line is the lowest it's ever been, 2012, a very warm year. The black line is considered the median or the average. And then the red and gold right in here together are 2013 and 14, the years we had a lot of cold and snow. This year is the new red line. It stops right up to this point. Now, for a while when we did the winter forecast, it was climbing steadily to match 2013 and 14. And then all of a sudden, around Halloween and just after, it flattened out and then crossed into now the lowest levels since, lowest ever, in fact, beating 2012. Now, it's trying to regain some. And I think it will. I'll get back into a focused area in the core of winter like we always see happen there. But it was interesting to see that little change. So that delay, that melting that is taking place has really allowed for a couple of things. One, for us to have some warmer weather, but I think it is going to allow for the flip to colder weather because it's not so much the extent of the ice, it's where it is. Here's a look. Here's the Arctic Circle. Here's Alaska. I know the boundaries aren't listed here, but here's Alaska. But notice where it should be. Right here where this pink line is. It's not there. All right, it's more focused on the northeast side, if you will, of the North Pole area. And because of that, it's allowing to create some warmer water. Now, if we get the storm systems to quit turning the water up, we will likely see high pressure build in, and that could then send the ridge into the Alaska, Western Canada area. And at the moment, we are seeing that potential show up later this month. It's going to try to build in. We're going to try to get some higher heights, if you will, or pressures in that area. There's blocking showing up here now into Greenland. This is, by the way, toward the end of the month. And this would then allow for more of these cold shots to cross over the North Pole into our area. So we could very well see that transition Thanksgiving week, if not just after, to a colder than normal pattern. And then we'll have to see how it plays out for December. The CFS model, I'm not a big fan of showing the snow map. What I want to show you, though, this is through Christmas Eve, what it's shown for potential snow effects from the CFS. Notice the trend at times to show the Rockies getting some snow, quite a bit of it, in fact. They see these little stripes of white. That tells me that some of the storm tracks, even though there's not a snow cover to the north, some of these snow tracks may try to develop on the southern flank of that. So we may get a decent trough that could actually build in here for December if some of the data here on the CFS is right. So I hope that's not too confusing. I hope it all makes sense in general. But for you nerds, weather nerds out there, this is the latest trends. Stay tuned. We'll see how it all looks tomorrow. But we're starting to see the groundwork being laid for a pattern change developing. So what is happening now, it's not all bad news. I think we're going to see some wild stuff. And really, because the Arctic ice is its lowest ever right now, we're in a sense in an uncharted territory in that term, which means the models are really going to be difficult to nail this down. So confidence in them, and I wouldn't trust them right now. All right, so keep low confidence in this. We've got to take this carefully and 1 week at a time.